CrossroadsIRL.com.
This is what happens when they target communities for their own benefit. This is what happens when they scapegoat. And this is what happens when they no longer hide the idea of white supremacy.
So it sounds to me, Nick, that Governor Tim Walz is saying that you and others that are out there trying to expose this, you're doing it because you're white supremacists. What is your response to him?
Yeah, Tim wants votes. There are entire apartment complexes where white people have been pushed out of these apartment complexes because Somalians have taken over and they're inside of these towns like Minneapolis where they can go get votes from these people. And if you have 100,000 people that will vote for you because you're going to enable and let this stuff happen and because you're going to call a white person racist for calling out facts, this is what's going to happen to a state like Minnesota. Minnesotans, they say Minnesota nice, but they are very upset. And I fully understand why they're upset. Because they don't have a governor who's actually working for them. He's actually working against them.
Nick, your video's been viewed 93 million times. What do you think will be the result of this? Do you think that things will change because of bringing attention to this, or do you think it'll be much the same, swept under the rug and keep moving forward?
Yeah, there better be change. People are demanding it. The investigations have been launched just from that video alone. And so there better be change because, like I said, we work way too hard to be paying taxes. We work way too hard to be not knowing where our money's going. And at the end of the day, the people in the government, they work for us. We don't work for them. And so it's their responsibility to hold these people accountable. And so if there's not something that's happened, people are going to be very frustrated. And so if President Trump's watching this, it's time to really get down to nitty gritty and to make a difference in this place of Minnesota that is pretty much like Somaliland right now.
When a governor starts calling ordinary citizens white supremacists just for asking where the money went, they're hiding something big. Tim Walz just made a big mistake attacking Nick Shirley, and here's the proof he didn't want you to see.
I knocked on the door, and to my surprise, somebody actually answered the door.
Hello? Can we speak? Yeah. I would like to check a child in the daycare. Why? Can I speak to a manager? Where can I get paperwork to file for my son? I wanted to put my son Joey in daycare.
And after a few questions, the lady went silent.
Looks like little Joey Shirley ain't going to daycare here.
And now where are we going?
Now we're going to Sweet Angel Child Care.
We're in the middle of a strip mall here inside of this neighborhood.
In fiscal year 2025, this facility, which has its license for 74 kids, was paid $1.26 million in tax money. And there are no kids, and all the facilities are the same way, all of them.
Let's see.
Location after location after location, businesses managed by people of Somali origin, all not providing the services that they advertise. And Governor Walz's response to all of this being uncovered is that this is a white supremacist plot. I don't think that anyone who has a brain and two eyes would agree with Governor Walz on this matter, because you have clear evidence that there is fraud, rampant fraud in his state, and he's done nothing, absolutely nothing to curtail it. And all of the accusations that he's been letting the fraud take place in order to buy votes appear to be valid. Now, if Tim Walz was putting up a better defense than this is a white supremacist plot or this is Trump out to get me, then we would be having a different conversation. But if the only defense they have, with all of the numbers that we're seeing being pulled up and all of the evidence on record right now, not just by the federal government, but by independent journalists like Nick Shirley, then there is really a huge problem. Now, these videos aren't the only problem that Tim Walz is facing. There are accusations by whistleblowers from within his own administration who claim that when Tim Walz was presented with all of these facts much earlier about all the fraud happening in his state, that they were subsequently attacked by Tim Walz and other officers in his administration, trying to force them to keep this quiet. This is a huge indictment on an elected officer like Tim Walz essentially running cover for a fraud ring.
These state employees also allege that they had warned both Governor Walz and Attorney General Ellison for years that this fraud was occurring, and yet nothing was taking place. So we're going to bring the state employees in. We're going to get their sworn testimony. We appreciate their bravery in coming forward. We're also going to bring in state lawmakers and Minnesota mayors, because the walls are caving in on Tim Walz. This massive amount of fraud is affecting and impacting every citizen of Minnesota, because they're having to cut services because so much of the money for social programs was wasted and defrauded by this Somali population.
Now, when your own staff and employees within your administration are calling you out and blowing the whistle on the fraud that you allowed happen within your administration, then you can't just sweep this under the rug by simply claiming that you're being persecuted by President Trump, or claiming that this is a white supremacist issue. This is a fraud issue. And it just happens that a collection of people within the community who were let in by the country graciously have decided that it is their right to pilfer the American taxpayers' funds and ship the money off to a different country, possibly sponsoring terrorists. And the only answer we get from Tim Walz and the Democrats is Trump is persecuting us, or this is a white supremacist, racist plot. Well, do you agree that this is the right kind of response that a governor should be giving, especially when ordinary citizens are uncovering the so-called fraud that is being projected by the Trump administration? You can literally walk down the street and walk into a building trying to get healthcare or put your kid in a school, and there is no such business running in those places. They look like daycares, but there's zero kids being taken care of at those locations. Or they look like healthcare outfits, but when you walk in and try to get healthcare, they essentially don't know what they're doing. So this is something that Tim Walz, I don't believe, can get out of. According to this last video, the walls are closing in on Tim Walz. And do you know what? Americans everywhere are waiting to see what President Trump and his administration, his DOJ, does about this situation. Will there be handcuffs? Will there be prosecutions? Will people actually go to prison? Will Tim Walz and his AG be held accountable? Or is it just more of the same? Let me know what you think in the comment section, and I'll see you on the next one.